Those fat beats you hear mean it's time for Uninformed, a podcast by two businessmen, an engineer and a geologist. Obviously the most qualified people to discuss the tech and gaming industry. We know nothing, but when we drink, it imbues us with amazing powers of observation, comedy and foresight. So join us for a singular, unparalleled podcasting extravaganza. I'm your host, Mr. John Clark, and joining me is Admiral Harrison Leake.
Drive me closer. I want to hit them with my sword.
Also joining us is General Andrew Finn.
Evening all.
And bringing up the rear, carrying the ammo, is Cadet Tucker.
In the rear with the gear.
That SCV is way worse than a cadet, isn't it?
Pioneer, I think, is the equivalent rank.
Engineer. Well, you are an engineer, Tucker, and SCVs, I guess, are engineers, aren't they? So there you go. They build shit. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Uninformed, our usual super fun time extravaganza of not knowing anything. Usually we talk about video games and tech, but right now we're going to talk about how we fucked up previously. So, Harry, is there any follow-up from last week from you?
I don't even remember what we spoke about last week. Wow, my brain.
I don't remember what I had for breakfast this morning. Finny, any follow-up from you?
Nope.
And Cadet Tucker, any follow-up from you?
I'd say probably an update on the Dota 2 International. It's now at 8. No, okay, no, listen, hear me out.
F5.
8 million.
F5.
No, okay. So,
what do you mean F5?
Isn't that the refresh button on the keyboard?
Yeah, for what?
Yeah, he's just sitting in front of there looking at the Dota 2 number, just going refresh.
He totally
wait,
is.
let's try this.
He totally is.
I expect
Oh my
to
god,
hear
it went up by $5.
Oh, great. So this entire episode is just going to be mired by that sound of click, click,
Yeah.
click.
Especially
No,
with
no,
the mechanical
I-
keyboard. All the F5s. Anyway.
I got one of those little bobblehead things, and just like every 1 second, 1 to 2 seconds, just hits the F5 key.
Oh, like from The Simpsons, where
From The Simpsons,
it's
yeah.
hitting yes over and over again. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so apart from that, apart from the amazing prize pool now, I also caved in and bought one. So I contributed $10 to Valve, and they themselves put $2.50 of that into the prize pool. So
Wow, do you feel like you're contributing?
yes, I feel like I've gained much, including purple text in chat now.
That's exciting.
$10 well spent. I can now type, and my text comes up as purple.
So how much was it up to now? 8 point something.
Okay, it's almost $8.2 million.
$8.2 million. This is going to be the
Which
next Star
is-
Citizen.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Crazy. Alright, well, any further follow-up, or move on to news?
News time.
Alright. News! Harrison Leake, tell me about the news.
Let's see. So, meme-inspired cryptocurrency, Dogecoin, which is my favorite meme, is moving to cement its sponsorship in NASCAR races. So you've seen NASCAR. I'm not big on racing, but if you've seen NASCAR, you know the cars are just plastered with ads. And Dogecoin want like more of that. That's where they're going. The person who one of the original founders is an Australian. And so he's a big NASCAR fan, so that's where he wants all the sponsorship to go. And apparently it is working. Like, they've seen a huge correlation between their ads being on NASCARs and the value of the cryptocurrency.
It's the subreddit for Dogecoin, isn't it? Like on the back, it's like r/Dogecoin or something like that.
Pretty much, yes. And I've always been fascinated by cryptocurrencies, just the idea of a currency that does not exist or does not belong to a country. That is pretty awesome.
Such race, very less.
Internet power! Yeah. But I also find it funny that literally over 100 buildings within the US have been mistakenly raided because the police think that it's a grow-op. The premise is drawing a lot of power. The place is really hot at night. They think it's a grow-op, growing, some kind of illegal plant. But just turns out that it's someone overclocking all of the computers trying to mine cryptocurrency.
There's a cryptocurrency named after Kanye West, I believe.
I believe it flopped.
As it should.
Well, Dogecoin was a joke version
Yes.
of Bitcoin, and then it just somehow turned into a real thing.
Yeah, it's like pretty much
still
neck and
worthless.
neck.
It's still worthless compared to
but
Bitcoin, but it's just funny that people are actually using it. You can buy things with Dogecoin now.
You literally can, and I think it's neck and neck with Bitcoin.
No.
No?
You look up Dogecoin, I'll look up Bitcoin. Bitcoin
All right.
value.
Dim typing sounds.
Yep. Alright, Bitcoin, one Bitcoin buys $634 US.
Damn.
One Dogecoin buys 60 US cents.
Ah. Okay,
Well.
not quite the same.
Yeah. So.
It'll get there. Okay.
But there's lots. There's Litecoin, Peercoin, a bunch of different ones, actually.
Yeah, but none other have that dog. And
That's
that
true.
look.
That's true.
Also, the launch trailer for Dogecoin is the single most inspirational video I have ever seen in my entire life.
To the moon.
Just Google it.
Yeah.
Row, fight the power.
Much coin, very money, such cryptocurrency.
Yes.
Okay, alright, well that's really interesting. And they're not just doing it in NASCAR, right?
They're looking to expand elsewhere, but, since one of the founders is a big NASCAR fan, it made sense that that's where it was going to start. And to see that dog's face on the side of a car, hurtling along, I think the Dogecoin, as much as they'd love to see that car come first, they'd probably also love to see it in a horrific crash, because that would just get 1,000 YouTube hits.
It would. Only 1,000?
Well, you know what I mean. Wow.
That's not that much these days.
I need to get my scale correct.
It's funny, I saw a video of someone racing behind them and they're just stuck looking at the dog on the back of the car. It's quite funny. So they do want him to be in front, so everyone's pissed off at the guys behind him. Anyway.
Trolls at heart. I love it.
Finny, what have you got for us this week?
Battlefield Hardline. Before the corpse of their last Battlefield game has stopped twitching, they've decided to announce their next, which is typical EA, but never mind. Basically what they've told us is they've taken Call of Duty, Payday 2 and Counter-Strike and mashed them all together and said, here's a game.
You know, Finny, you could be a journalist with that amount of unbiasedness you enter stories with.
Oh, I'm sorry. Every time I mention anything to do with EA and Battlefield on this podcast, it's generally me saying, I hate it, and I hate it. And guess what? I hate it.
Now, why do you hate it? It looks cool to me.
Because what? Okay, for starters, it's 3 games mashed together. The first isn't even properly dead yet, and, considering how well the last one went, I don't have high hopes for this one.
It's developed by different people.
Yeah,
Visceral,
that doesn't matter when EA says, this is your release date, and Visceral go, it's not ready, and EA go, I don't care, it worked last time.
Well, I'm still waiting for E3, because this is just leaked stuff. They leaked it and then they had to announce it. So
Yeah, because it's got out. It could be alright. I mean, it could be a hell of a lot of fun. I don't know, because we haven't seen enough. As you said, we've got to wait for more of it. The problem is, the last Battlefield was just, for me, a continuous nightmare, and still is.
Yeah, but
So,
Finny, you
then
play
coming out and,
it every day. Tons
yeah, I know.
of
That's because when it works, it's good, but I paid for it. I paid a lot for it, and therefore I'm not going to just turn around and say, no. See, I haven't paid for this one yet. I haven't bought it.
Andrew, I have a solution to all your problems.
Oh, yes?
Stop buying shit.
What? That's what my next point was, is that it's going to take, basically, this is going to have the world's most stable launch for me, and I'm fairly certain a hell of a lot of other people, to buy it, considering how bad the last one was. I mean, okay, so the game, enough of that, because I've ranted about that before. The game modes, heist mode, rescue mode, hotwire mode, blood money mode. So I imagine it's going to be more like Payday 2 than anything else, but you can play as the cops this time around. It's an interesting take. It's definitely unlike anything Battlefield's done before, and it's done by different studios, so I've really no idea what it'll be like. I mean, it could be a hell of a lot of fun. If the damn thing works on release, it'd be nice. We don't have any information yet, so it's all just speculation, but with the past history of Battlefield games we have to go on, well, it's a different studio, so perhaps it'll have a decent launch. I don't know. Well, we'll see what happens.
If only Andrew had less client-side latency issues, maybe he'd actually enjoy Battlefield.
Yeah, I'm starting to see the reason why he doesn't like EA games.
Oh, dear. He really needs to get off that wireless. Do you gents use wireless at your home?
I do.
Wi-Fi,
I have to.
yeah.
I have to.
Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Okay, I do not. I cable that shit up.
You live in a warehouse where you can cable whatever you like, Harry.
I have cabled so many... I have cables hanging off my roof right now. I have three-phase power hanging off my roof. If I happen to just have something that draws three-phase, I literally have a power point hanging in midair above my head.
You're like one of those, you see those really cool New York penthouse studio apartments, where everything's like, really cool looking and everything. It's like you tried to go for that, but you just got a warehouse in Thornley instead.
I will get there one day. One day it will look like that. Done. When it's done.
Yeah. Tucker, tell us what you've been looking at this week.
Alright, so I came across this article when I was reading. So apparently, once again, Apple's rumoured to switch to these ARM processors in their Mac line. So I don't think it's the first time this has been rumoured, but it came up again, and it starts to ask some interesting questions, like how will this affect Intel, who seem to be supplying most of the chips nowadays. So, my opinion, it won't affect them that much. I don't think Apple make up a serious market share when it comes to using Intel chipsets. But what I am more interested in, will this changing over to an ARM architecture will result in Mac prices going down, which I would hope so, because they're very expensive.
Just simply no, it will always be expensive.
Yeah, I think Apple go, we can increase our profit margin on these Macs beyond the absurd amount it already is at.
Well, let's analyze Apple's previous swap over, which was PowerPC to Intel. Yes, and it was for obvious reasons, because PowerPC... the performance projections were pretty shit, but at the same time, its heat output and power consumption was too high, and Apple wanted to get into more low heat producing, low energy consuming, but of course faster processors, and so the swap was an absolute no-brainer to them. Customers at the time didn't understand, because everything was slow back then. They're like, why are you changing? This is the death of Apple. But, of course, it was one of the best moves they ever made. But it could work for them. It could work. It depends. What's the need? Why?
Well, the why is very easy. Obviously, they wouldn't do this in anything other than just the MacBook Air. To do it in a MacBook Pro and iMac and things like that is ridiculous. The only advantage they get out of this, because it's such lower performance than an Intel chip, a real desktop chip, is battery life. And MacBook Airs at the moment get you 15 hours of battery life. Which is apparently the best in the industry, I'm told. But imagine if you could get a full day, you know what I mean? So that's sort of the advantage there. However, at the moment, ARM chips I don't see this happening in the next 5 or even 6 years. ARM chips are way too slow at the moment. So ARM chips are better than Intel chips at decoding instructions, but to execute instructions and store them in memory, Intel chips are better at that. And you can think of it as like two different lines rising to meet each other, with ARM on the bottom and Intel at the top. ARM is getting better at becoming a desktop chip than Intel is at becoming a mobile chip. So eventually, sure, they might hit each other, but I don't see it happening for a long time. And even if it does happen, it won't be just ARM making the chips. It'll be like with the iPhone, where Apple designs the chip specifically, and it just gets fabricated by ARM or someone. So,
I see. It's all about projection, though.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, at the time that Apple swapped over to Intel, Intel was actually pretty shit. In fact, I think at the exact time that they announced the swap over, Intel was not as fast as PowerPC, especially considering what everything was optimized for. But they knew, I don't know how, they obviously had an insider. They were able to project that Intel chips will become this fast in this many years, and it will consume this much power in this many years. They had estimates within a range, and Intel met those estimates. In fact, they probably exceeded them. So it paid off for Apple pretty well. So it depends, again, where does Apple want to be, and in the future, the tools that they're using, will they be able to do it?
I think it's a bit of a moot point whether they're going to do this to Macs or not, because their what do you call them? iPhones, iPods, and iPads are already running on ARM processors, and they are like 150 times a bigger market than Macs. They sold like 5.2 million Macs last quarter, and they sold 37 million iPhones and 15 million iPads. So I don't think that. I mean, you think it would be a threat to Intel, but I think it's already a threat to Intel because there are, hundreds of millions of iOS devices not using Intel. So
what do they use?
They use ARM.
Oh, already? So they've already swapped?
Yeah, no, right at the beginning. Apple bought a fabrication plan and just designed their own chips. That's what the A5, the A6, the A7, that's what those things all are. But, so, Intel's already lost that market, you know what I mean? If they manage to get into the Mac market, they might get a few million more units. ARM will, but ARM's already fucking kicking Intel's ass. So, Tucker, how do you think this will, I don't think it'll really affect Intel because ARM is pretty much already winning because they're already on all the iOS devices. But do you see things like smaller devices like the Amazon Fire TV, whatever new Google thing, the Apple TV, do you see those running Intel in the future or staying with ARM like they are now?
Yeah, I'm probably in the same boat as you, and I think they're most likely going to stay with ARM. I don't think Intel has a strong enough presence in the the mobile architecture world to make a difference. Because they seem to have, Intel's strength still sits in their desktop and server environments.
Yeah.
So, maybe Intel will come out with a nice little mobile chipset, but I don't think it's going to make a dent in what ARM already controls. It's similar to AMD trying to, topple Intel with the catastrophe that was Bulldozer.
Yeah.
So, it's the same thing.
Fair enough. All right. Well, seeing as there's two big events coming up in the next 2 weeks, there is WWDC, Worldwide Developer Conference for Apple, and there is E3 the week after. So we'll talk about E3 mostly next week. We'll touch on it a little bit this week. We'll talk about it mostly next week because it is actually happening on the day after we record next week's podcast. So that'll be our prediction episode, and then the episode after that we'll talk about the aftermath of E3. So I thought this week we could talk about WWDC, because that's happening in a couple of days. It's happening on the 5th or the 6th, I believe. So there's a few things going in, and generally, I think me and Tucker are the only ones here who like Apple. Andrew and Harry don't really. However, Harry, you like desktop Apple products, just not mobile Apple products.
Whoa. I am the systems administrator for a purely Apple company.
And that's why I was asking whether you were
and
desktop
I don't
Apple.
care about Apple.
There you go. So, Harry, I think you're going to like this WWDC.
Well, my prediction probably involves more plagues of frogs than anything else. So
let me tell you why you'll like it. So this WWDC won't have any... it won't have new hardware. Well, it might. It won't have new iPhones or new iPads or new fucking smartwatches or whatever. They're all televisions.
Smartwatches! Yes!
Yeah, none of that's going to happen.
It'll certainly happen.
No, not at WWDC, is my point. That'll happen later on in the year. The end of 2014 will be a bigger year for Apple. The hardware they will release will be things like an updated Apple TV, new MacBook Airs maybe with Retina displays.
Well, that's usual, isn't it? Like, most time Apple will announce an update to their range of something.
Yeah. So WWDC, however, is all about software, because it's a week-long conference where they release, they talk about the new operating systems, iOS 8 and OS 10.10. So, 10.10, I'm guessing it's going to be called Yosemite, because of their whole thing where they do California name places, like they did Mavericks. And it's going to be a bit of a visual overhaul where they're going to match it to iOS 7. Not entirely, but it's going to be a lot more transparency, white backgrounds, Helvetica instead of Lucia Grande, things like that. It's going to be sort of more of a just like iOS 8, I think it's going to be more of a snow leopard to a leopard, or a mountain lion to a lion, like a smaller feature release, but under the hood, a lot more actual stuff going on. And that's why I thought you'd like it, Harry, because they're actually focusing a lot more on the Mac this year, it sounds, from all the leaks.
Indeed. My favourite releases have always been when they've improved an operating system rather than jumping out there doing just crazy new stuff, which is why, to date, I consider Snow Leopard 10.6 to be the best operating system ever.
Okay, iOS 8, we've had one leak, the health book thing that came out like 6 months ago that was leaked. But what's really interesting, the past 3 or 4 years, whenever it comes to hardware, everything's been leaked constantly. We get all the hardware leaks from the factories in China and stuff, and so they can't really keep stuff down. But because I guess this one is just software, it doesn't leave Apple headquarters. So they've, like they said they were going to, they've really doubled down on secrecy. So that's why it's quite exciting, because usually we go in and go, well, we know they're going to... iOS 7 is going to be different from iOS 6, crazy different look. We knew that going in because it was leaked. Nothing's really been leaked. So
you just gave an example of software being leaked.
No, I said last year. Oh, you mean this year?
You just said, yes, China can leak new hardware, but this time they're focusing on software. But then you just gave an example of iOS 7, a software, being leaked.
Yeah, no, I'm saying this year. I'm saying every year for the past 4 or 5 years, hardware and software have been leaked. This year, I've hardly heard anything. There's been pretty much there's been lots of rumors, but no actual leaks, software-wise. So that's why I'm saying it's quite exciting this year, because we really don't know what's going to happen going in. Okay,
yeah, no, I look forward to it.
Yeah, I've heard rumors mainly about price dropping in the, I think the MacBook Air or MacBook range, so that's
well, they just did a massive price drop on the MacBook Air, actually. It's only $599 now, so...
What, really?
Yeah. But, anyway, and obviously a big thing that they should do, I don't know if they will do it, but they should do it, they need to redo iCloud so that it's unlimited backup for not just your photos, but also all your iWork documents and that sort of stuff. So you don't have to worry about what gets backed up and what doesn't, whether you're at a limit or not. And also they should just get rid of Aperture and make iPhoto much better. Other than that, I don't see what else, really, they're going to do. They're not going to do hardware, and... WWDC is all for the developers, so it's not... I mean, people are always expecting cool stuff from WWDC, because that's sort of the time of the year when the iPhone 1, the first iPhone, was announced, even though that was at Macworld. And every year people are, like, disappointed that nothing came out. And I'm like, no, this isn't the time when they release cool new whatever. They have a separate event for that in September or August. This is just to make developers more familiar with the upcoming APIs and stuff. So, on to games. Harry, what have you been playing this week?
I've been playing a really, really weird game this week. It's called Contrast, which is a very French-inspired artistic game. So, let's see. Think of a third-person, move-about, interact, jumpy, puzzly kind of game. Very platformer-based, because the gimmick of this game is that your character can become a shadow on a wall. And when you become a shadow on a wall, other shadows on the wall becomes the ground that you walk on. So right at the beginning, there is like a light and a bicycle tire. And so up on the wall you see a shadow of the tire, and if you become a shadow you can walk up that tire. So that's how you get kind of like a 2D and 3D jumpy puzzle platform in one. The problem is that the game does not capitalize on this unique innovation in that it is a shit game. It is fantastic as art. It is the most artsy game I have ever seen. It's very... I would even say Psychonauts inspired. It's actually really good, and it's very story-based, very artsy, everything's very French, and you are one of the only 3D people. Everyone else is only seen as shadows, which is very good for production costs, because no one else has to be rendered properly. All you see is shadows talking on a wall. And you can tell this game was made by, like, a studio with, like, $1,000 to their name. That's it. And they've done really well for a story.
It sounds really French.
Yeah, no, it is outrageously French. The problem, one of the biggest issues is the person who was in charge of like the video game aspects was probably some student straight out of university. It's all so cliche in its obviousness. Like, one of the first things you have to do is you walk up to one of those French outdoor cafes, and there are these... I wish. There are these huge umbrellas over all the tables, and you can kind of wind down the umbrellas, which changes the shadow on the walls. But for an arbitrary reason, these umbrellas are on timers, and you can hear the timer clicking, and after a certain time is done up, the umbrella will spring back to its extended position. Why? Because gameplay, basically. So it's so obvious that it's a game, it just kills the mood. These people should have made a 3D animation or a movie or a series, anything other than interactive entertainment. So, but I do recommend everyone at least look it up on YouTube for the cutscenes and the story, because it is quite nice.
Until they take those cutscenes down.
Probably, yes.
For copyright.
Also, the voice actor for the little girl, because every video game has to have a little white girl these days, the voice actor's just a tad too young. You can hear it in her voice. Like, who got this baby on set? She's probably like 5 in real life, when in the game it looks like she's more like maybe 13. So they should have got a voice actor to correctly represent that, but I think maybe like, I don't know, one of the studio designers had a daughter or something, and they just dragged her in for voice work.
They should just do what they do in TV and movies and just get a 35-year-old to play it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Tara Strong. Yeah, I mean, glowing review there from Harry.
I am saddened by that bad review I've just given, because it does look like it's a properly inspired game, and the mechanics are extremely unique. So check it out. You'll probably find it on sale somewhere for like $5.
Okay. So, Finney, you hinted last week at a very esoteric and weird game that you were playing, and I thought you could enlighten us about what it was.
Alright, it's called Lili, Child of Geos. It's a third-person indie adventure RPG by Bitmonster Incorporated. It was released on the 10th of May 2014. It's built in the Unreal Engine. It can be bought off Steam for $19.99. And what the fucking hell is it? Seriously, it is the weirdest game I've ever played in my life.
Flower Collection Simulator 2014.
That's like the normal part of it. Okay, there's sentient wood people walking around in it, for crying out loud. Wow. Like planks of wood that can talk. Oh, and the birds shit rainbows.
Okay.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Is
this a game you need to be intoxicated or like high off your face to enjoy or appreciate?
I think it'd make it worse. A kid's game? It's a kid's game that promotes breaking and entering, assault, theft. What else is there in it? Oh yeah, just generally being a dude.
Yeah,
okay,
sounds like
so you walk into people's houses. You walk into people's houses just randomly, like, oh hi, I'm going to steal all your stuff, and then walk out, and then like, oh that's okay. You randomly jump on people in the streets and pull flowers off of them. You see, oh look, that's a nice vase on the side of the road. I'll just kick it, or a chest. Oh, that could belong to someone. Don't care. Open it. It looks pretty.
I've got a beef with this game.
I got a hell of a lot of beefs with this game.
Well, I got a beef with less the content of the game. This game's a 2-year-old iOS game. There's that as well. It's a port. $2 on iTunes or iOS whatever store, and it's $20 on Steam. Where do they see the difference? Because it looks the same.
Simple. The PC Master Race has more money.
What's that?
True.
That'd be it. That's the problem. I've played this too, Finney. After you hinted at it, I had a look, and it seemed like fun. I mean, it looks really good. It's fun to play, but it is a little. I don't know. It doesn't really know what it is.
Well, the attempt at a plot is you're collecting flowers for a report, and then from there on out, it just Your play as a Lara Croft wannabe that doesn't know what violence is.
Oh, well.
Gentlemen, as you know, I like playing as female characters in games, especially because I hate
young
watching...
female characters.
No, I'm getting to that. Especially because I don't want to, in third person, watch the back of some guy waddle about for 30 plus hours. I'm watching a gameplay trailer, and it's really focusing on this girl's bum, but she just looks way too young.
Only you would be the first person to notice that.
Or care.
Yeah. I'm just saying that it's not a Japanese game.
I must protect this girl, says Harry.
Harry jumps in going, it's a young girl, and all I can see is her ass.
Well, I'm just saying, hey,
she's way too young for this, all I can see is her ass.
They decided the footage on this trailer, and just look at the Steam trailer.
Third-person mechanics, they always face like that. If they don't, they just don't work properly.
No, it's called over the shoulder for a reason, because typically
that's for shooters. Over the shoulder is something like Resident Evil.
This is over the bum. Like, the camera is dragging on the ground looking up.
Well, no, okay, so you like... over the shoulder is something like Gears of War or Resident Evil, where quite literally it's not above the head, it's over the shoulder, because it has to for the shooting mechanics. In a game where shooting mechanics aren't the emphasis, then they don't do it like that because it gets awkward and confusing. If you look at the third person in Fallout, for instance, it is over the shoulder because it focuses to the right-hand side of the character. If you look at the third person in Skyrim, however, it just goes straight out the back because there's no point, because there's no shooting aside from archery. And if you're doing that in third person, you're an idiot.
Question. Like those other examples you gave, can you modify where the camera's pointing at?
Of course you can, Harry. It's like a Bethesda game. It's made to be modded.
Awesome.
No.
Wait,
you mean
this is a Bethesda game?
No, he's talking about a video game.
Oh, Lil, I've got no idea.
Yeah, you can right-click, move around.
Cool.
Harry would just prefer a between-the-thigh gap view.
Sure, why not? Let's go with that.
Preferably on someone over the age of 18.
Please.
Yes. Tucker, enlighten us. What have you been playing this week?
Okay, well, first of all, there's Watch Dogs, which we will probably tangent off to after I've spoken about the second game I've been playing this week, which was Hearthstone. And as John and Harry know, I've been playing a lot of it.
Tell us what you were doing before, and why all of a sudden you're playing a lot more.
Okay, I think before I was playing it kind of casually and stuff, and just doing a game maybe once a week or so. And then after listening to multiple podcasts, including The Angry Chicken, I figured, this sounds pretty good. So I jumped in, and then I realized just how bloody addictive this game can be. And so I jumped on the ladder, and, I built my overpowered mage deck. I was feeling pretty good because I was going up the ranks pretty quickly. Then I started, I've got a free arena run. I might run this. And that's when it all went to the shit house. Because, first of all, Blizzard decided to only allow me to use either the Paladin, the Rogue, or I think it was a Shaman deck. All three which I have sweet fuck all experience with. Now, to add on to this, as Ildum Stormrage once said, you are not prepared. Blizzard, I was way the fuck not prepared for this shit. Because in arena mode, it's not a constructed deck. So essentially, it's a random draft. You get 3 cards placed in front of you. You pick one. Now, here are the problems with this. For someone like me, who had no idea what arenas were. You don't see any other cards, so you have to construct on the fly, in your head, kind of what deck you want to do. That's quite easy if you've got your full deck. Like in Magic, if you sit down, you open a pack, you can see all the cards in front of you, and you'll construct a deck that way. I think that's how Magic's played.
Drafting comes from Magic.
Yes, exactly.
This is the thing you do in Magic. You get one card, you pass to the person next to you. They take one card out of the pack, then the next person, then the next person. So it works exactly the same. And this isn't a problem with Hearthstone, this is a problem with
the thing is, I never played Magic, and I assumed, maybe they'll give me a selection of cards, and I will go with that. No. So trying to construct a deck took me fucking ages, because I had no idea about Paladin decks. I had no idea about their legendaries, or anything else. So, deck construction did not go well.
All you know is justice.
Yes. Justice demands retribution.
Yeah. Look up Trump's tier list.
No, I did. I had a I think I was using the Icy Veins tier list.
Oh, okay.
And that took I think it took me 30 to 45 minutes to construct a deck.
Jesus.
Which seriously, I had no idea, because if it was a mage deck, it would take me maybe 15 minutes. So I know roughly how to play that game. I'm either going to go a control deck or I'm going to go a rush deck. I had no idea with these. So, that didn't go well. And then on top of that, after the failed deck building, my opening hands were terrible. Just absolute shit. And then, John, to finally top it off, I finally realized what it feels like to get 2 Blessing of the Kings, get an awesome minion, drop them all down, and then have a fucking mage polymorph and thunderbolt it, and then fireball shit. I was like, seriously, it was either a 12-12 or a 16-16. I'm like, yes, motherfucker, I've got you! And to top it all off, this is what crushed my hopes and dreams, was I had won 2 games, and I'd also lost 2 games. So in Arena, you only get 3, the moment you lose 3 matches, you're out. And like, okay, I've got this. I dropped my card down. I think I had, it was either something Ogre or something else. So I said it was either a 14, 14 or 16, 16. And I'm like, yes, within 2 moves, I would have had him. And to add more my ego, I dropped I think it was Argent Commander or something that gives you the Divine Shield. Like, yes, excellent, I've got this. So I dropped it down, Divine Shield him, like, yes, next turn, gonna wipe him out. Polymorph, Fireball. And the look on my face and the absurd profanities that came out of my mouth were, I'm pretty sure my neighbors don't like me.
It's like the troll finally getting trolled.
It was like, I now know what John feels like when I polymorph his the ace up his sleeve. So.
But back with your original comments about just how, I will use the word broken the arena is. Hearthstone really needs more gameplay modes. And it seems like they could do it quite easily, like a mode where you all start with your lowest hitting cards or your highest hitting cards. It's always a random deck, and so like it's 60% chance this game, 40% skill, I reckon, once you've selected a good deck. And they need to squash that. They need a 50-50 at least.
Are you serious? It's like you guys don't understand card games. Play a different game then. That's what this game is. RNG is the whole point of it.
They at least need some other modes.
Well, they are. They're releasing an expansion at BlizzCon. So
awesome.
Oh, cool.
We'll know.
But I mean, here's the thing. I think that arenas are the way to go when it comes to spending your gold, because
all real money. If you want to.
all real money. Because put it this way, when I played that arena run, even though I only won 2 matches, I still got a free pack. Now, I think a pack's guaranteed at 3 wins. It was just by chance that I happened to get a pack and some stupid other card, which I probably won't use.
And a pack is 100 gold to buy, and an arena pass is 100 gold anyway. So
is it? I thought packs were 150 gold.
No, packs are 100.
No, arena is 100.
Oh, sorry,
100,
arena is 150. So you've almost paid off buying a pack anyway. Plus, you get dust to enchant your cards. So
yeah, exactly. So I think to make it worth your while, you have to win at least 3. So I will try this again, but I'm gonna hopefully this time, because it's a paid run, I'll be able to choose a mage deck. And I'm going to try my hardest to get a rush deck.
No, it won't. They won't. They give you 3 random classes to choose from.
So can I cancel and then redo it again?
No, you can't. That's the whole idea of a draft, Tucker.
But I want to play mage. John, you don't understand, okay? I play mage on ladder. I just want to play mage in the arena.
Too bad. Play something else. Expand your
I don't want
horizons.
to play something else.
Expand your horizons.
Hold on, you can play something else in the arena, right?
You can choose.
You get a choice of 3.
Yeah,
Random.
so that choice of 3 might include the mage.
It might, but if it doesn't, I'm fucked.
Well, basically.
If it doesn't, just play Hunter and win automatically.
Yeah, assuming it's either that or I pray to God that there's a Warlock, and then to remote my chances a little bit more, I can get like the Murloc deck.
Hey dude, I got a warrior once, and I got 7 Gorehowls. Gorehowl is the 7-1 weapon. I just hit him 4 times, and then I won.
Yeah, see, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I finally encountered my first Warlock Murloc deck, which had the equal amount of profanities coming out of my mouth. The moment he dropped that second Murloc, I went, "You muff!"
Yeah, it's a 5-move kill, those bastards.
It was, and there's nothing I could do about it because I didn't get any early game minions. I had like 3 spells, and I had the first turn as well. Straight away, he dropped the Murloc. I'm like, "Oh no, no!" And then second turn, he dropped the second Murloc. I'm like, "You motherfucker!"
Just concede.
I considered it, but I wanted to see. I never
yourself.
I never encountered a Murloc deck before, so I wanted to see just how bad it was, and it was horrifying. I've been scarred from this. So
this is what I'm really concerned about. Like the previous generation, addiction is known to alcohol and the pokies and things like that. They're basically going to be replacing pokies at any RSL or club or casino with Hearthstone and iPads and just those addictive games that have you throwing more money in.
Yep.
So
yeah, well, I mean, they had WoW, and they're like, how can we make more people ruin their lives? Let's make an even more casual version of WoW and call it Hearthstone. So
which is even more instant looking.
It literally ruins hours of my day almost every day. I just come home and like, oh, I have these things I should do. I should cook dinner, have a shower, that kind of thing.
Dude, having it on the iPad is worse. I wake up in the morning. I wake up in the morning and I'm late for work by an hour and a half because I play 6 games.
No, I do the same thing now. I am waking up just a little bit early every morning just so I can play 1-2 games of Hearthstone. This is it's bad.
Andrew,
join us
or die. That's
I was considering it, and then you said all of that, and now I'm not considering it.
It's very rare that a game comes along that makes us feel like this. Civilization is one of them, with the whole one more turn thing. It's very rare for that to happen, and so I'm just real excited that it actually happens. Usually it's a chore for me to play games. I'm like, oh, I've got to play this game, I've got to get through this story, I've got to get through my list of games. This game, I will just fucking drop everything and play it. I love it.
It's a joy.
Yeah. It's made me consider getting an iPad just because I will enjoy it. Yeah, I will enjoy it a lot more. Like playing on the iPad, sitting on the couch or wherever I happen to be in bed and just play a game of Hearthstone or 2 compared to sitting at my computer.
It is great.
I think it'd be more relaxed.
But another benefit of only having an iPad 1, I can't play it. Thank goodness.
Yeah, the iPad 1s could barely go on the internet anymore.
What are you talking about? I use my iPad 1 literally on a daily basis. I use my iPad more than I play Hearthstone.
I use it to weigh down papers. I use it as a coffee coaster.
I'm referring to me looking at the turned-on screen interacting with the device. No, I'm not talking about paperweights. It's a good device. It works.
Trying to swipe the thing doesn't count as interacting with the device.
I've never had to swipe twice to get it to register. I have on many Android devices. Have I told you about my DX Extreme?
You have. You haven't told the listeners, though. So
listeners. I wanted to buy the single cheapest Android tablet I could find. The reason for which is a long story, but my iPad was basically, at the time, disabled. So I thought, okay, well, I don't want to buy a new iPad. They're too expensive. I will get the cheapest Android. Because I just wanted to read books. Extremely simple processor requirements for that. I bought a device called the DX Extreme. This thing struggles to turn on. It pretty much crashes to desktop trying to swipe a page in, like, Amazon Kindle, for example. It is the most non-functional device that somehow actually was legalized for sale within the US. It should be illegal. It's got Android on it, but it's like a pocket calculator attempting to run it. It's broken. Even the screen was not skewed correctly for its own device. It's got like a third-party app on it that allows the screen to show the Android interface, and even then the aspect ratio is way off. So after having it sit on my desk for about 3 months going, what can I do with this? I can't even read books on it, but it is technically functional. Is there some backup device I can do with it or something? Backup function? Nope. The bin. Just yesterday I finally decided, you know what? The bin actually looks pretty good for this thing right now. It was only
a perfectly working coffee, like, something.
Yeah,
it was a nice paperweight. You can have a coaster.
No, it had a rounded back, so it was actually a shit coaster.
Oh dear. Well, you pay Hyundai prices, you get Hyundais. So.
Yeah, pretty much. I have learnt well.
You realise like Hyundais are like one of the best selling.
Well, now they're good, but
now they're good.
Back then.
Yeah, okay, 10 years ago or something.
Replace it with
Sanyong.
Fiat. Yeah. Okay. So this week. Harry had some technical problems, and we won't go into it.
Oh, yes, we will. Yes, we will.
But me and Tucker have been playing Watch Dogs. I finished it on Sunday. Tucker, how far in are you?
You finished it?
Yeah. I just did the story mission.
Because John just played one game this week. He just played the one game. Rather than playing 28,000 games, he played the one game. He took my advice and he finally finished a AAA title on PC in a reasonable amount of time.
Also, Tucker, it didn't take me 5 hours like I thought it did. I was looking at the wrong game. It took me 10. So, 10 hours just the main story.
Yeah.
Literally no side missions, except for some online stuff. So, Watch Dogs, like the original Assassin's Creed, was a game the press largely invented. So, when it, like the original Assassin's Creed, deviated from the fantasy, which was like, oh, the graphics aren't as good as on the E3 and all that, I expected the same result, which is to say I expected the hammer to come down. And it hasn't. Assassin's Creed 1 was boring and slow. This is great. I love this game. Forget the graphic stuff, whatever, that'll be solved soon enough. The game
better solve it.
The game itself, I mean, I just turned it down to high, and then it was fine. So, solved for me. The game itself is great. It does so much with its inventive abilities and its mechanics. The story missions frequently enable and even encourage like a really lengthy recon phase. So I don't really just go in guns blazing. I'm looking through CCTVs and then sort of spider outwards, like cracked glass sort of thing, as I went from camera to laptop and junction box, marking targets, hacking things, and more than any other stealth game I can think of, Watch Dogs does a remarkable job in allowing for proper presentation, and it allows for constant puzzle solving, which also sits next to the really cool sort of like free running stuff and action that goes on with the driving and police chases and stuff. And it really encourages you to be not stealthy in a Splinter Cell way, but stealthy in like a Tom Clancy sort of movie way, where I could throw a grenade into that group of troops, but I have no grenades, so instead I trigger a forklift to move up, and that makes them all go, oh, who's moving with the forklift? They all walk towards the forklift, and I detonate a nearby junction box, which clears up my problem. So, lots of cool little things that you can do in Watch Dogs, gameplay-wise, that I love. Story, yeah, it was good. It was fun. And the online, also really, really fun. Being able to invade other people's games, Dark Souls style, and fuck with them is really fun. So, I mean, on the one hand, the story is not that great, serviceable, but on the other hand, it's just a great, fun world to play around in. What do you think, Harry?
John, anywhere in the game was a USB or flash drive shown as like a plot device or something?
I don't think so. Actually.
Don't think so. That would make a lot of sense, because clearly the developers did not have USB in mind, because I couldn't play the game for the first half week, because it doesn't work with USB audio. If you have a USB sound system or optical sound system or USB headset, like I do, you can't hear the game. It doesn't make sound. You need the good old-fashioned 3.5 millimeter, whatever you call it, jack, which is very low tech.
Yeah, it's working for me.
It works for him. He's got USB.
It's user specific. I'm sure there's some other problems. Maybe it's like that, but with also an AMD CPU or something. But the forums clearly indicated that this game on launch could not handle a lot of people's USB devices. And so I couldn't play the game for ages.
Well, ages. You couldn't play it for one day, and then I gave you
It's a AAA title. So,
therefore,
like
you should wait
48
for a
hours
week.
is an absolute eternity when everyone else is playing and hyping it up like crazy, and it's all
That's
great,
true.
it's all great, and I can't play it, and it just feels like forever. And then when thankfully, John sent me a very nice link to a patch where that's how much other people were wanting to play this game. Patch came out, a user patch, within like 48 hours, which is pretty cool.
For DirectX as well, not even for the game. So
yeah, interesting.
Something. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, but then I even had a shit time playing the game because I got about half an hour into the game, failed a mission, and the game went, oh, you failed the mission. Well, I guess we'll take you back to the opening cutscene. And after the initial problems I'd had, I just kind of felt defeated at that point. I'm like, oh, I've just literally lost an entire half hour, which is understandable back in like pre-2000 video games, but I was expecting... Because this game works on an autosave system. Can you save manually on this game?
No, it's autosave.
I don't think...
Exactly. You can if you go back to the safe house.
Yes, the safe house. You got to go.
Yeah, so I wasn't that far into the game to get to a safe house. Yeah. So I was literally I didn't want to play for another half an hour and lose that half an hour again. I could just play Hearthstone again.
So yeah, look, we'll get your thoughts on it then, I guess, next week, once you've played it a bit more. But Tucker, you have played it for a little while. How long have you played it for?
I'd say I'm probably a couple hours into it, so I would agree. It seems to be a good game. There's some nice different mechanics going on, which it's interesting to see. But then I didn't know that Watch Dogs was going to be the same style of game or same style of mechanics as, say, Assassin's Creed or other Ubisoft titles.
Why did
so
you
like
do that?
as soon as I open the map and I'm like, oh, I think you hack a tower and you can see the surrounding points of interest and stuff.
Yep. It's the Far Cry 3, Splinter Cell,
exactly.
Assassin's Creed formula. Yeah.
But obviously they've taken what they've learned from that and applied, to a new context. So I can't say I've gone in and played enough to formulate a great picture in my head of how good it is. But I would say I'm enjoying it. A couple of quirks with some hacking terms and some of the technologies, but overall it is creating some cool game mechanics. How you can kind of jump from different security nodes or routers and cameras, try and figure things out. And just running around putting with I use keyboard and mouse, so I press Z and it brings up the profiler, and some of them are pretty interesting and funny.
They're very funny, yeah. I would recommend playing with the controller if you've got a 360 controller to play it on your PC. It is much better with the driving.
Yeah. And I'll say that's why John's having a bit more fun playing it than I am. Just because this game, no one's denying it, it has been optimized something fierce for consoles.
Yeah, it's expecting to have 8 gigs of VRAM, which our PCs obviously don't have, and the consoles do have.
Yeah.
So that's why it's running slow. They've even come out and said that, actually. So okay, we'll get more thoughts from both you guys then next week. But
next week,
just thought you listeners should have at least my thoughts on it, seeing as it's relatively new still, and it's still got lots of hype around it.
There are no brakes on the hype train.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew.
Is there anything else from you, gentlemen, before we wrap this motherfucker up?
Oh yeah, quick note of interest. Apparently,
it's up to 8.8 million now.
No. Although it is. Okay, quickly, let me press F5 on my keyboard. I've got the webpage open, so pressing F5 now. Fresh. 8.2 million. There we go.
What was it before?
It was just under 8.2.
Wow.
Now it's just over 8.2.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, although this is related to Dota 2 and, funnily enough, Blizzard. Dota 2 now has more concurrent users than WoW does.
Wow.
I should say WoW subscribers. So Dota 2 has had just over 8 million unique users a month, and that's more than WoW has.
Yeah, WoW's at 7.2 or 7.8 or something.
Yeah, I think according to their last earnings call, which is probably February. So it's interesting. So it's I don't know, how are you feeling that Heroes of the Storm will play out?
I think Heroes of the Storm is doing something very smart, which is not focusing on the competitive like League of Legends and Dota 2 is.
Dota 2.
They're making the Hearthstone of MOBAs. They are making a casual game that is just fun to play. You don't worry about competitive bullshit and ladders and ranks. You just have a good time with the MOBA mechanics. And just like Magic was too complicated, and so Hearthstone came in and made Magic available to everybody to play, they're going to do the same thing with Heroes of the Storm. From what I've played and from what I've seen, that's exactly what they're doing. So I'm excited to play it, but obviously not excited for a competitive scene, because there won't really be one.
Oh, no, there'll have to be one.
No, there'll be one, just like there is with Hearthstone. There's competitions, but it's not like League of Legends or StarCraft or whatever level of esportness,
Well, just knowing Blizzard, it's going to be a polished MOBA, so...
Yeah.
But the question is, will it be, too long, too late, or will it bring something new to the table where people say, maybe it is worth jumping over to, Here's the Storm?
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're not doing a competitor to Dota or LoL. That'd be just like saying, Call of Duty is a competitor to Counter-Strike. They're very different games.
Yet again, being a MOBA, maybe this could be like the Achilles heel. Maybe people are just expecting and wanting something to compete against Dota and LoL, and it doesn't do that. So people are like, well, why do we play it?
No, but MOBAs are coming out constantly. Infinite Crisis and the Lord of the Rings one, Smite, they're all coming out, and nobody plays them because they're all playing Dota and LoL. Just like we don't play other MMOs. We try them, and then we always end up back at WoW, because that's the one we know, and that's the one that we're invested in.
Because Blizzard knows best.
Think of this as a gateway drug into MOBAs, just like Hearthstone is a gateway drug into TCGs. That's what Blizzard does best. Blizzard takes EverQuest, makes WoW. Takes Magic, makes Hearthstone. Takes Dota 2, makes Heroes of the Storm. So, was there any more, guys?
I have a quick article which is extremely relevant to me, and you, John, as well. Samsung has unveiled the Slim Band, which is the latest in their wearable health items, and one of the things that this thing does is a live heart monitor. Now, the reason I say that is relevant to me is that I have a pretty severe case of SVT, which is basically that means every now and then my heart decides to go lol, rave party, and just goes all over the place, and I can't do anything.
It's
like at the pub last week.
Basically, yes.
like Honda VVT, right? Variable valve timing. That's what's wrong with your heart, your valves.
Yeah, basically. And when it gets really bad, it is like every now and then I wake up and go, ah, shit. Nah, this day's going to be rubbish, and then I'm probably going to spend the night in the hospital or something, getting pumped full of drugs or something. Now, the reason I bring that up is just to emphasize the uselessness of having a heart monitor on a smartwatch. If your heart is beating fast, you'll know about it. You don't need a watch to tell you that. And if my heart is acting up, then I will know. I don't need a monitor to tell me that. So, I really actually have to concede to you on this one, John. I think, again, Samsung is trying to beat Apple to the punch because everyone's under the assumption that Apple is going to release a smartwatch.
Or a health-focused device at the very
or a health-focused device. And so everyone's throwing as many devices out there just to see if they can get ahead of them.
Yeah. You guys are aware that apparently Microsoft is going to be bringing out their own smartwatch to compete. Which, if it's going to be like the Surface, probably would be a solid device, but way overpriced, which will probably kill it. And we'll lose another Microsoft CEO over it.
It's going to be called the Zune, but with 2 Zs or something.
The Xbox Zune. You wear it on your wrist. There's one. It'll be the Xbox One on your wrist, something like that.
It'll be the Wrist One. Coming out soon.
And on that bombshell, thank you for joining us for Uninformed. Please subscribe to us on iTunes, watch us on YouTube, tweet us at Uninformed News, or email us at uninformedpodcast@gmail.com. I'm John Clark.
I'm Harrison Lee.
Andrew Finn.
And I'm Matt Tucker.
And that's the way it is.